As I record this video, the last round of blitz of the whole tournament, Grand Chess Tour Superbit Poland, is just finishing, and VE has already won the tournament with 19.5. The last round's game is not relevant. He has already got 2.5 points lead over Magnus Carlsen, who is second, and Pragg is third on 14.5. The final round is happening right now. Magnus is playing Arjun, who's on 14. So for Arjun, it's a very important game. Not so much for Magnus because he's already second, confirmed second. And Pragg is playing against Vincent, who has had a bad tournament. Vincent is on 10.5. So Wei has played really good chess and has already won the tournament. In round two of Blitz, we had a very nice game between Pragg and Magnus. Pragg has played Magnus a bunch of times, and Magnus, of course, has the better score against Pragg, but it's getting smaller with every passing year. Here, as you can see, the opening was the exchange Caro-kann, normally considered a very drawish opening, normally employed by white if you want a like a drawish a draw game. But here, after bishop d3, knight out, all the standard moves, Pragg was somehow able to create some advantage. So he plays b4, gains the queenside space, preparing a5. Magnus plays rook c8, ignoring that. Rook e3, unusual move in the exchange Caro-kann. Normally, you would want to bring the rooks later. So he is keeping his options open with rook e3, bishop e8, queen e1, attacking the e6 weak pawn, bishop f7, and now a5. Knight f5, rook comes back. Knight e7 and knight f1. Queen d7, takes, and knight g3. Knight d6, and rook comes to a6. So Pragg is holding on to his queenside play. He's got the a file, and he's ready to bring his pieces into the game on the queen side. Rook b8, defending the pawn, and now h4, solving the backrank problem and preparing to push that pawn if given the chance. Rook e8, rook a2, knight f5, rook a7, rook b7, and knight takes knight. Takes, rook a8, stopping the rook from taking this. An exchange is going to happen. Queen a1, takes, and we have queen e8. So Magnus is thinking this position is drawish, not much to play for. Even though the pawns are doubled, they're together. So it's fine. There's an isolated pawn here and here. So Pragg has got some chances, but with exchange of queens, those chances will be very less. So Pragg keeps the queen on the board. Queen d8, knight d2, heading to b3, I believe. But after b3, where will it go? Oh, see, he's probably heading to b1, a3, and b5. And if the bishop can come out after knight takes, it will be a. And he's also preparing c4, by the way. Not that easy to get it now because there are two pieces defending, but it's there in the end. So knight comes to e4. Bishop takes, pawn takes, and we have a endgame position. Knight f1. The black queen is stuck there defending b6. You can't afford to give a nice pass pawn to white. f5. Magnus is attacking h4 and preparing f4. g3, stopping it. h6 and queen b7. The position is pretty even. Here, knight e3 was the best option for Pragg. I am not sure why he didn't play it. Bishop e6, defending the pawn, and then keep the queen active, and he would have chances. But yeah, queen b7, now g5. Okay, f4 was the problem. f4 would have created enough play for, so pawn takes, queen takes, and this play would be good enough for Magnus. But he went for g5. Takes, and knight e3. Bishop e6. You can't allow that knight to jump into a great square. So bishop e6, queen c6, king f7, and c4. A very nice move by Pragg. Creating play because after pawn takes, the d pawn becomes passed and the bishop is attacked. So this is a very nice setup. Even though it's a little shaky with f4, for now that pawn is passed and the bishop has to move. Queen goes to h6. Queen f6. Again, queen exchange refused. And this was the critical moment of the game. Magnus had to go queen g7. And here they're both down in time pressure. So both of them have seconds, mere seconds. So it's a blitz game. So king went to e8. So what Magnus didn't like was in this variation after the exchange, knight takes, b pawn is hanging, and if you push the b pawn, then knight e5, and it becomes a very nice position. Even knight b6 is good. Knight b6, knight e5, basically helping the pawn forward. The king is too far away. So bishop moves d6 and then d7. So this is what he didn't like. So the idea here is after king takes, black can just ignore the pawn hanging and play king f6. But that's very hard to do. Like here, the point being knight takes, bishop moves. The pawn is within grabs from the king, and this pawn is stopped, which means it's actually drawish. Now, for example, if you go knight c8, trying to play d6, black will just play king e5, and this pawn is already gone. If you defend it, just bishop c4. So because of the active king and the bishop, black is able to hold on. But seeing all that with less time is difficult. So Magnus goes king e8, but now knight will take, and there is an attack on the king. The queen, knight, and the d pawn combine to take care of the king. Bishop goes to b5, d6, king moves, knight takes, pawn check, king takes, queen d5 check. King moves, and now queen takes bishop, queen takes. Do we exchange queens? No, because you're winning 2 pawns over here. You lose 1 pawn, but you get 2 pawns here. And this is a winning queen and game because black can't push this, but the g pawn is passed. And king is actually safe from all the checks. Queen moves, and now you're ready to start pushing. Now Pragg plays with real technique, real good technique. Queen moves, king moves up first. Queen check, king moves even further up. He first activates the king before pushing the pawn. Queen comes down to give check from the bottom side. Queen check, king moves up. And now pawn also goes forward. Queen check, king moves to g6, and by now it's already over. How do you keep giving checks? You can't even give a check here because queen d6. Counter check. King moves further up. Queen check, pawn forward. Queen waits there. Queen check, and king g8. I mean, here queen f5, king c7, king h7 is what engine wants, but the human moves to play king g8 and push the pawn further up. Pawn e3, just queen f7 check. King moves, then takes, and pawn g7. So how do you stop this now? King f8 is the idea. There's no checks. So he goes queen e5. I wonder why. After king f8, what is there to be done? There's nothing to do here, no checks. Was there a chance here, like play queen queen c5 allows this queen check. So there's no way to get to the eighth rank. If you play something like queen h3, for example, then what can we do? Queen f6 check. How do we get out of there with the king? Queen f6 check. If the king goes to d7, we still can't bring the king. Yeah, we still can't bring the king. Queen f7 check, king goes back, so same position. And now queen f8 check, king goes further away. Queen a8 check, so we can give a lot of check, but how are we going to win? Just queen e7. Queen e7 and then king f7. And if you give a check, queen can block. So for example, queen f5. Okay, queen f5 stops that. So then again, there will be some play for Magnus. Pragg will have to find some way to get the king out of the line of the pawn. So here, king h8, there is this check. So queen e8 check. Let's say king b6, because if you go to d6, queen f8 is a exchange. And now queen b8 or queen e3. Let's say queen d8 check, king c6. Where's the win? Yeah, we can just play queen h4. Forget all that and just play queen h4, preparing king h8. That should be enough. And now if king d7, can we play king h8? Queen e5 is still there, stopping the pawn. Then queen g4 check or okay. Yeah, queen g4 check, king e7, and then queen g6, preparing king h7. Now there should be no defense. Yeah, queen d4, just king h7. But queen h4 check is still there. Queen h6, queen e4 check. King moves, queen e5. or d4. So this will still need some work. How do we win this? Queen h3. Let's wait. Now king f7. Queen d3. Wow, this is going on and on. King e7, queen d3. So I'm not actually sure of the right plan here. So queen e5 was still there in this position. I mean, not queen e5. So instead of queen e5, queen h3 was still a possibility. The idea being king f8 allows, I mean, king f8, queen. Wait, queen h3. If you go king f8, the idea was queen c8, and then queen c8, queen e8, now queen f5. And again, the checks continue. So we'll have to move the king away. King g8, and the same idea. Just keep the queen here, not allow the promotion. So queen goes back, let's say, stopping the king from going to h8. So this would have kept the game going. Pragg will have to find a way to exchange queens in that line we just saw, that long line. But yeah, here Magnus played queen e5, and here it's a simple win because king f8. Just king f8, and there's no checks. No checks to give. So Magnus resigned. So this gave Pragg a good chance to come up the rankings, and he has come to third position with 14.5. By the way, Vehi is just, let's see, has won the last round game, and Pragg has lost the last round game. But Arjun also lost, which means Pragg is still third and Arjun is still fourth. Magnus is second and Vehi is first. So that concludes a very nice tournament of the top players with a nice mix of young players and the oldies. Anish didn't have a great tournament, but Magnus, as always, had a good tournament. And Duda also had an okay tournament.